I mean, I feel like if this car
this
car put up that as a dating profile, it would be like if your dating profile was a skeleton wearing your glasses. and like, if you were a skeleton and somebody said, now, is this going to be a person? It is like, yeah, here, let me show you. Put some glasses on it, and then expect you to go, oh yeah, that's a person. I see now. He's got a face and stuff.
Okay, well, any other comments about this flashback?
I think that's it for me.
It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood, a beautiful day for a neighbor. Would you be mine? Could you be mine? I've always wanted to have a neighbor just like you. I've always wanted to live in a neighborhood with you.
All right, well, it's another beautiful day in Mr. Rogers' neighborhood.
Sure is, Steven.
Sure is, boys.
Whoa!
Who's that?
Who's that strange man?
Hi, I'm Daniel.
It sounds like our theme song, man.
Yeah, I guess it does. But less electronic-y.
We've got Dan Brisbin with us here today, the third voice of the podcast, provider of...
And the third listener of the podcast.
Yeah, our musical provider and number one through number all fan.
Do you guys get, like, statistics on how many people listen to this show?
I don't look at them.
Yeah.
If we do. I find it's best not to think about it too hard.
No. We're forever blowing bubbles.
Exactly. Sometimes you just gotta build yourself a garage.
Like Mr. Rogers does.
Like Mr. Rogers does.
In this episode 1478, Volume 2, Episode 3.
Yeah, so Mr. Rogers comes... He's got a nice jacket, I wrote down.
He doesn't have anything in his hands this time, but he says he came with an idea.
Yeah.
His initial smile was incredibly genuine, I found.
I mean,
maybe before we get into the episode, we need to talk about Dan Brisbin and Mr. Rogers.
Yeah.
What is your relationship to this man?
I've seen the intro once or twice in order to make my theme song.
And you didn't watch it as a child.
I never watched it as a child. I've never seen a whole episode until today.
Okay.
But
you've heard of it, presumably?
I've heard of it from the Please Won't You Be My Podcast.
Oh, I heard that's good, yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty familiar with the idea of it and the idea of the characters, but I had no idea who was puppet and who was real life. And
was that seriously the first time? I didn't think it was possible to have that little cultural awareness of Mr. Rogers' neighborhood.
Like, as a child, what were you watching?
I was watching Arthur and Magic School Bus, maybe Recess.
We got a millennial here.
I mean, Arthur and Magic School Bus, Recess, those are all my favorites.
I mean, all of us are millennials
here. Did you guys
here.
ever see the CBC show called The X?
I don't know.
It was like an after-school show. It had this guy who would always like freestyle rap a little bit here and there, and he would just like introduce other little shows. Like there's one about a spy for 10 minutes, and then it would go back to him, and like you could go on the website and type stuff in, and then it would scroll on the bottom of the screen like the news ticker thing.
Vaguely familiar.
It's like shout outs, and I remember sending one in and then seeing it on there like what's up or whatever, and then it scrolls along the bottom on CBC television, and I was so excited.
That's like when I'd try to get my snarky jokes to show up during the video game awards, but I think somebody's reading those before they go up.
Yeah, probably they did that on CBC too. They didn't just put everything up uncensored on the show.
I mean, who knows? Early days of the internet, they might have been.
So have you, are you up to date on the story so far with, well, I guess we'll get into that.
We'll get into that when we get into that. But the first thing is Mr. Rogers makes a garage out of blocks.
Yeah, that's his big idea.
Yeah, he says he didn't bring anything, but I brought an idea. I'm going to build a garage.
And then he pulls out some blocks, which he presumably brought at some point.
Yeah, and that's why didn't he just bring the blocks?
I think they probably just are there all the time. Like, has he used them before? Maybe.
We don't know. We've missed a lot of episodes, but...
Maybe he busts them out once every 100 episodes.
Maybe.
He's also got a plane and a car that he keeps in a drawer.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, he does describe blocks as though he's introducing the concept of blocks.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, he does say, I like to play with blocks sometimes.
do you?
And I was like, well, you found the right occupation, Mr.
Yeah.
Rogers.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure these are just painted 2x4s too, these blocks. Not that
Yeah.
there's anything wrong with that, but...
Splinters is wrong with that,
Well, not if you sand them good.
I guess.
Or you get the right kind of wood. So yeah, he builds a pretty big garage for the toy car that
say-
he pulls up.
Garage. How are we...
Garage.
If we can each take a
Garage-y.
different pronunciation, that way will represent all factions.
Yeah.
I'm gonna just say garage.
Garage?
Garage. I mean,
What do you take,
the
Andrew?
name completely sounds absurd now. The word
I'll
garage.
just say gorge.
I'm trying to figure out, I think I'm just saying it like they say it in the They Might Be Giants song Garage, which I'm really just mentioning so there's something for the Tumblr.
Right. I mean, there's never a shortage.
Yeah, I know. I just want to get more They Might Be Giants on the Tumblr.
I have a request for the Tumblr. I
Mhm.
want my face photoshopped on Woody from Toy Story 2 when he's like, I'm on a yo-yo. Except I want it to be captioned, I'm on a podcast, and my face.
When does he say, I'm on a yo-yo?
When he's on a yo-yo, presumably, in Toy
Like,
Story
okay,
2.
Toy Story 2. This is a Toy Story 2 podcast now. So he's there. He's
Not
going
a
to
Toy
the-
Story podcast, because that's too broad.
He's going to the Kanishi Toy Museum in Japan.
Oh, I
Yeah.
see.
All of the Woody's Roundup gang is there, and all the
I was picturing he
memorabilia
was
is
on a
there.
yo-yo, like, coming in on a wrecking ball.
No, just his face was etched into a yo-yo.
There's a
Steven.
snake in my boot.
Yeah. And
So how
yeah,
many
yeah.
times have you seen Toy Story 2 that you could name check the specific Japanese toy museum?
Well, that's one of the only movies I watched, and I watched the first one every day until the second one came out, and then I watched the second one every day until I got like
And it was a
older.
much
There was a
until
much
the
longer
third one.
span between the second and third. So I
Yeah,
don't understand
like,
why you'd know that.
I eventually gave up, and the third I've probably only seen like 3 times. But
We've got it on Blu-ray.
Yeah,
the first and second I
could have done a
watched
podcast about that.
a lot.
We'd all be crying at the end.
Okay, with this garage, he says you gotta plan it, but he never planned it.
No, that's true.
He never planned
Yeah.
it. He's like, what was he saying? Like, this is a chimney or something, and like.
Yeah.
Yeah, he sticks a vertical block.
He
Yeah.
puts the car on the roof and builds another garage around it. It has no roof. How are you gonna get that car down?
Yeah.
You gonna like have a ramp or like an elevator come or like a zoom boom come
Yeah,
and
because
grab it like
he
and
builds
put it
the
back
garage
there? Like why isn't it
incredibly
just
too
parked
big
on
for the toy car he has.
Yeah, he puts the toy car in there, and he's like, well, that's no good.
just park your car on the street, buddy?
Yeah, later he puts a toy jumbo jet inside of it.
Yeah, and then he moves the car up to the second story, which, if any vehicle is suited for the second story, it's going to be the jumbo jet.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, it needs a runway, but
yeah,
at least
it's
it
not a
has
lot
the
of room
capacity
for
to
takeoff
fly.
there. I mean, maybe if it fell enough, like runways or on aircraft carriers or
If he had
are
a
too
helicopter,
short, but
then he
they're
could
in the air
drop
as soon as they
the
fall off.
car into the top one with the helicopter.
Yeah,
but,
I mean, maybe you could do that with a plane, but it'd be very delicate, and you need a parachute. But before we even get to the plane, Mr. Rogers remembers a time he went jogging.
yeah, and he encountered an electric car. Which,
Yeah.
that was surprising.
He
What
was-
year is this?
1991, I think.
Okay, so a lot earlier than I would expect
Yeah.
children's shows to be talking.
Because
about
I was
electric cars.
because later he says there's no such thing as an electric airplane, and I'm like, is that true? Basically, it was true at that point. Later, now there are electric, at least drones,
Right.
unmanned aerial vehicles, but not airplanes.
Yeah. So we have this dreamy dream music as we
Yeah.
wibbly wobbly.
The time he decided to go jogging to his friend's
Fade-
electric
fade
car
to-
company.
Mr. Rogers in a tracksuit
Yeah.
passes an electric car in the street, chases it down because these are 1991 electric cars.
These
Yeah.
are glorified golf carts, is what they are.
These cars look terrible.
I was trying to draw a picture of the electric
Now, you
car,
famously don't like drawing vehicles.
and as I was drawing it, I realized that this car, the shape of it, perfectly aligns with a bad drawing of a car.
Yeah. It looks like it's made of cardboard.
They made their blueprint not with like drafting skills, but just I'm gonna draw a car and then let's make it that shape.
Or maybe like their child drew one
Yeah.
on the wall, and they're like, "We got to do this."
I don't
boys."
wanna-
It's real boxy.
I don't want to, like, rib these guys who were building electric cars in the 90s.
From scratch.
Too
It's
much,
not like they're
but
modding existing cars.
They should have looked at what cars look like before trying to build one.
I also drew a picture of this electric car's pilot. Do you think this is an accurate representation of him?
Yeah.
I can't really describe
If he
it,
was,
so I'll just put that on the template.
If he was a character from Dexter's Laboratory, I think that's what he would look like.
So, Mr. Rogers gets a ride in this electric car back to
The electric car.
factory or his shop, the guy who
Yeah.
makes these.
Yeah, just the
warehouse
guys.
where they make them.
It's definitely a hobby thing.
Yeah. I mean, they're welding them by hand out of just square
Too big.
steel pipe.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know how much weight they're saving by not just putting this on like an existing car frame and
Yeah.
stripping stuff down, like remolding a new fiberglass body, because they're not aerodynamic.
No.
They're the
they've got
opposite
they
of
have a vertical
aerodynamic.
windshield catching all of the air.
Yeah, it looks like Postman Pat's car
Yeah, or like
before they figured
was
out how
there
to
a
make.
car in Town Called Panic? Was there like
Probably.
a tall car that a horse rides?
That's quite the reference. Yeah, or there might have been a car like that. It looks like Mr. Incredible's car is what it looks like.
So we meet Wayne and Paul,
Yeah.
the hobbyists who are making
Paul
these
is the one
electric cars.
driving it. Wayne is the one who's welding it together. Wayne shows him sort of the inner workings of it.
Anything interesting to say here?
Wayne is bad at talking? I have a quote here, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So at one point, Mr. Rogers says, "Were you very interested in cars as a child?"
Mm-hmm.
This is when they're showing him a frame or something. And Wayne says, and I quote, "Oh yeah, anything with wheels. In fact, that's how we build the cars. We put wheels on the frames here." That's his transition. Like, think about that sentence for anything with wheels. In fact, that's how we build the cars. Those sentences don't go together.
No, and
That, in
that's
fact, doesn't mean anything.
that's how all cars are built.
Yeah.
It's like he was given a script with just, you gotta hit these main points and like just make it smooth, and then
Yeah,
he just
I've-
like crams them all together.
Yeah. He is, yeah.
He says, as a child, I liked anything with wheels, which I started immediately thinking of other things with wheels that we know for a fact he liked.
Oh.
Wheel of Fortune.
Going straight into the
Cheese.
cheese. Okay, yeah.
Um,
Those Wheel of Time books. They're like a fantasy cycle.
Wagon wheels.
wagon wheels.
Wagon wheels. Or boxes of wagon wheels. Wagon wheels themselves don't have wheels. They are wheels.
That's true.
Oh.
Yeah.
Those like things where you slide the wheels and it makes different pants, clothes, and hats.
Oh,
Pants?
Create a pirate from the Monkey Island 2 copy protection.
That's exactly right.
Or like there's like a wheel and like you put your
Oh,
pencil in
spirographs.
it
Yeah.
and you're
Spirograph.
spinning it around, and then you're like, look at this beautiful piece
Mm-hmm.
of art I made,
Yeah,
Mom.
spirographs on wheels. Modern Times, that Charlie Chaplin film where he goes through the gears.
Story of Ezekiel.
Yeah. Yeah. So then Mr. Rogers drives the car for a bit.
Yeah, he turns the key and then there's just like toggle switches
Yeah.
for forward and reverse.
There's like
Yeah.
a bunch of other ones we don't learn what they do though.
Yeah, there's
That's true.
one toggle switch. He says up is forward, back is reverse. So
I mean, there's headlights, so there's probably a headlight switch.
Yeah.
Inside, these cars look even worse.
like this is to automatic as automatic is to standard. It's just a switch forward, backward.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it's very stripped down. The gas pedal, which he still calls it a gas pedal, even though there's no gas,
Right,
because he
it
didn't
should
have
be an electric pedal.
he didn't have Toyota's marketing team to come up with the Go pedal.
Oh, is that what they call it?
I think that's what they call it in the Prius. Yeah.
That's dumb.
But the gas pedal is like just there's another piece of that like metal piping that it's just bolted to.
Just one of Mr. Rogers' 2x4 blocks.
Yeah, it's very.
Bright pink.
Also, I wonder if these things are street legal.
Well, Mr. Rogers passed one on the street.
I wouldn't want to take it out on the highway.
No, it didn't seem very fast.
I bet those doors would rattle because they barely seal.
I think they were taking it at top speed, and it looked like maybe 25 kilometers an hour.
I feel like it probably had like a shed latch holding the door shut.
So Paul brags about how these cars don't make any noise.
Yeah.
When you turn on the gas or the power. If you turn on the power, it doesn't make any noise.
Yeah.
And
Which
then,
is a true weird thing about electric cars.
but not for this one, because when Mr. Rogers hits the gas, there's this distressing and unsettling piano music that starts it.
Oh yeah,
Like,
he
it made it
starts
seem like
going
a really
backwards, and it's like, oh no, he's gonna crash, and then all of a sudden he's just going forwards nicely along the country
Mr.
road.
Rogers is definitely caught off guard by how quickly it starts going backwards. He's like, oh, whoa. We've never seen Mr. Rogers drive before. It's weird. I mean, I assume he knows how. But we've never seen it, so it's a little weird.
Now we know.
Now we know he can. And that's, I think, basically the end of, unless anybody else has more thoughts, I think that's the end of Mr. Rogers.
I guess the only thing was when he was commissioned to move that piece of fiberglass or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
He was like really scared it was gonna be too heavy for him. Like he does not want to throw out his back. He's like, "Is this gonna be heavy?" Because the other thing I held for like half a second was too heavy.
Well, as our daydreaming fades back to reality, we are back in Mr. Rogers.
Mr. Rogers' living room. He's still got his garage.
Oh, and he shows us the trolley.
Yeah, he shows us and that the trolley is a toy. The trolley's really taken a drubbing.
Yeah,
This week.
We've really been digging into the the existentials of this trolley. Trolley does not have feelings.
No, trolley is a toy.
Trolley is a machine. Trolley is a toy.
Has wheels.
Yeah, he shows us the underside.
Yeah.
So I'm sure that our buddy would love a trolley.
Yeah,
when he's a
Wayne,
kid.
big fan of
Anything with
trolleys
wheels.
when it was anything with wheels.
And then he puts it back on the track, and I don't think he puts it on like properly because it makes a lot more noise than
There's
usual.
a bit of a clatter when it gets up to speed. Yeah.
Just, some grinding to suggest that Mr. Rogers maybe didn't quite line it up perfectly.
I mean, those because it's 4 wheels in the front, 4 wheels in the back, and it's a lot of wheels to get on the tracks right because you'll get like 2 of them on, and maybe the other ones aren't, and they'll sit funny.
Shall we
Maybe
travel
nobody
to the
else
land of
cares.
make-believe?
Yeah, let's travel
Yeah.
to the land of make believe. Buckle up your seatbelts.
You got your
It's going to
visa?
be a bumpy ride.
Good.
It's got to be a work visa because we're doing a podcast. You need a green card? Nope, that's a wedding? I don't know. Guys, quick, we need to watch that episode of Wings where Monk marries the lady.
Or the episode of Mr. Rogers where they talk about green cards. Because
Yeah.
I'm sure it's come up at some point.
I think that might have been week 1. Are we there?
The wheels were grinding, but here we are.
Things are amiss in the land of make-believe.
Yeah, the prince is missing.
The prince is missing. They're checking everywhere.
Bill Murray is not happy about that.
What?
He does kind of look like Bill Murray, yeah.
Oh, Joe Negri?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Handyman Joe Negri? I thought maybe you were suggesting that
The prince kind of looks like Bill
that
Murray,
Groundhog
too.
Day in the movie Groundhog Day was set on a Monday, and therefore he was looking for Tuesday also through the entire movie.
No, I
That's
just
a
thought the
real
guy looked
elaborate
like Bill
joke
Murray.
you ascribed to him.
Well, it's the only thing that made sense.
That was the only. That was like immediately you had
Listen,
that too.
here's what we know about Dan. He knows the movie Toy Story 2 inside out. I don't know what movie he moved on to after that.
We know what movie you moved on to though, and it was Groundhog Day because
I don't-
that was top of mind for you.
I don't know what day of the week it took place on, though. I thought maybe...
Bill
Dan
Murray's
was
been in
so
a lot
familiar.
of movies too.
But in what movie would he most likely be searching for someone named Tuesday?
Scrooged.
Okay. I can't argue with that. So Mr. Joe Negri quizzes the trolley on whether he's seen Tuesday, where
He
he's
hasn't.
been. He's been to Westwood, which is, I guess, a place.
Yeah, Westwood is the other neighborhood.
Also in this scene, we have Harriet E. Cow.
Yeah, which feels like it's a pun, but isn't.
It's like one of those Phoenix Wright characters who you spend
Yeah.
years trying to figure out, and then it finally dawns on you.
But I don't think Harriet E. Cow goes anywhere.
No.
I just think of Harriet Tubman, and she's not Harriet Tubman.
Lady Aberlin also shows up. There's
Yeah.
a lot of characters in this one scene.
Lady Aberlin comes back with an interesting. She's been out looking for Prince Tuesday,
As has everyone
as has everyone.
been recruited except for Daniel Tiger, obviously.
Yeah, Well, and that's that because she says, I checked the Eiffel Tower, I checked the Platypus Mountain, I checked the tree, I checked the museum go round, I checked the castle. She lists off every single set piece in the land of make-believe.
And she's like, the only place I
except for
haven't
one.
checked is Daniel Tiger's clock.
Yeah.
So I did the whole lap,
Skip around that one.
stopped at the clock, came back to the castle to tell you which ones I've done.
Yeah.
Could we send someone to go to the clock?
Yeah.
These are not the people I want looking for me when I'm...
No. Well, I mean, this is the B team because we find out in a second here that the handyman Joe Negri has already called in the volunteer look departments and the listen brigades.
Yeah. Joe's keeping an elaborate record of everywhere they've looked and haven't looked.
Which, again, there's not that many places in the land of make-believe, and you can see them all from where you're standing.
Yeah, it is arranged in a convenient circle, as long as you remember to get the tree at the end.
Yeah. Yeah, it really is just
Anyone
a
have
lap.
any good notes from this scene? Okay.
Well, I do have... Does Daniel Tiger have parents?
Yeah, I was hoping we get to see inside of his bachelor pad.
Yeah, he seems to live alone. Because Harriet Cow... Another clue that they've skipped right over. Harriet Cow says, oh, well, he must be at the clock. Daniel Tiger wasn't at school today either. Like,
yeah, and
where were you with this clue earlier?
she's a member of the search party, but hasn't said, oh, by the way, another child is missing.
Yeah. Come to think of it, 2/3 of my class were missing today. It was literally just me and
The
and
other
Platypus.
third, now that I think of it, is alone in the classroom. Alone at the school, where
Yeah.
I am the sole...
Yeah, he's
employee.
missed school, but school also hasn't started yet? Is this lunch?
I don't know.
I don't know. Yeah, you shouldn't be leaving Annie Platypus unattended at that school. She could wander off and fall down any of the giant gorges in that classroom.
So Harriet E. Cow is quested to go inquire of her other missing student,
Yeah.
Daniel Tiger, who also kind of buries the lead.
Yeah, we cut to
with his investigation.
the middle of Daniel Tiger's basically witness testimony.
He's like, well, yeah, Prince Tuesday did come here. We played with cars for a while, and then he went to sleep on his suitcase. He is still there right now.
Yeah. If this were a Law
I
and Order
should-
episode, Daniel Tiger would be saying this as he loads fish into the back of a truck.
Yeah.
Can
bananas
I
into
talk while we work?
Yeah.
Yeah, bananas into his banana boat.
And then we cut to the human characters.
What happens in this human scene? I've only vaguely remember it existing.
They get a phone call.
Miss Prolificate's there.
They get a phone call, which is to say we haven't found him, and then they get a phone call to say we have found him.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the end of the conflict.
Which again seems unnecessary because I feel like Harriet Cow could just wave from the
Wave
clock tower, hey, he's over here. Or even just, they might see. It's a good thing they went to play inside last episode, or that would be a big plot hole.
Mhm.
You could see him from the cattle. I don't know, maybe the tree blocks that eye line.
I mean, if they could really see that far, then they'd be able to see that these characters aren't standing on anything and that they're just floating 5 feet above the ground.
I mean, that's true too.
So maybe their field of view is restricted to what is in frame.
So we get to the classroom.
Like a television flatland.
The classroom, which we haven't mentioned, clearly has big trap doors underneath all the students for them to stand in.
Yeah, because of their long legs.
Because of their very long legs. Here's one for the Tumblr. In the background of the school, on the
Prince Tuesday dressed as a Russian, or is that not what you're going to say?
I mean, I was going to describe it as a painting of a man with a chainsaw. Because that is also what it is.
Okay. What's the name of the platypus?
Anne? I've been saying Anne this whole podcast.
And platypus, yeah, I think
so
you're right.
hopefully that's right.
But Daniel Tiger and Prince Tuesday are now at school, although Tuesday still doesn't want to go home.
And he still doesn't want to have feelings.
I don't want to have feelings.
He still wants to be a machine. Because he's still worried that his parents are going to get a divorce over this whole plane versus gas thing.
Yeah, and Platypus says, oh, Tuesday, I was really worried that you would be very far away or dead.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's heavy.
Which, like, something that a kid would probably say.
Yeah, that's true.
Not something that you would expect to hear a kid say on a kid's show.
Yeah, that's not the sort of thing that adults realize kids think.
Mm-hmm.
Whoa.
And then Prince Tuesday is like, you know what? If you were a machine, you wouldn't have been worried.
It's true.
He's really got an agenda.
Yeah.
And Platypus says, listen, once you're a person, you're that way forever.
Yeah.
And she phrases it in such a way as to say that there's a time
point
at
where you
which
can make a choice.
you are not a person.
Yeah,
But you...
once you're a person, you're always a person.
Yeah.
But at what point is that undecided? That you're maybe... At what point
I
started
think
out
this
as a person.
tracks to
goes into
robots?
the abortion debate.
Yeah.
It does. It's
At
really...
what
This
point
is-
does a
this
person
is
become
all-
a person?
Yeah, well, in Prince Tuesday's case, I think the point when a person becomes a person is when Mr. Rogers are, looking for a puppet to source for this new character they're working on. And they're like, well, this one's a person, let's go with that.
His hand is
Versus-
hovering over the robot puppet and the Hero's Quest puppet.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it falls on the Hero's Quest
He
puppet.
quietly closes the box. Not today, robot puppet.
So they're trying to convince him about how he should return home.
Yeah.
Um,
Harriet E. Cow also
They haven't told him
staunchly-
that he doesn't have a choice yet.
staunchly
but ultimately, that is what it will come to.
strongly anti-transhumanism.
What do you mean?
I mean, no acknowledgement that maybe a person could turn into a machine.
Or that maybe
It's all
Trolley does have
cybernetics.
feelings.
Yeah, or that. We do get a huge lore dump.
Do we?
It's subtle, but Prince Tuesday.
Oh yes, he says Lady Elaine is his aunt.
Yeah, he says Aunt
Elaine.
Lady Elaine.
Yeah, they're like nobody's.
I think he might say Aunt Lady Elaine.
He's concerned that his parents are getting a divorce, and everyone reassures him like, we haven't heard anything about a divorce.
Yeah.
Like, have you heard have you heard any gospel on divorce?
You heard about the kings and queens divorce?
And then he's like, well, Aunt Lady Elaine said that they were probably getting a divorce.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, she's not always right. And he's
Yeah.
like, well, sometimes she is right, though.
Sometimes she is always right. I feel like mostly she's always right. Lady Aberlin shows up at this point, and Harriet Cow, with either a galling lack of tact or an admirable straightforwardness in dealing with her students' issues,
Mm-hmm.
straight up to Lady Aberlin says, "Hey, have you heard anything about the King and Queen getting a divorce?" She's no, I don't think so. Lady Aberlin first again says, no, I haven't heard anything about there being a divorce, but I'm pretty sure Prince Tuesday says, well, Auntie Elaine says that they are. And Lady Aberlin's just like, well, she says a lot of things.
Yeah.
Which is true.
Real short on patience.
Yeah, real
Yes,
fed
right.
up with her aunt, I guess.
Yeah.
Can we say for sure that Lady Elaine Fairchild is not Lady Aberlin's mother?
No, we can't say that, I don't
Yeah.
think. She does say Uncle Friday,
Yeah.
which would mean that she is the daughter of
One of his sisters. Or
brothers. So Lady Elaine is,
the only other family member we know about in the Friday line.
yeah, I guess. Maybe she's got a problem with her mom.
So is his name King Friday Fairchild?
Maybe. They're studying electric cars.
They're studying electric cars, which basically comes down to, does anybody know how to spell electric cars?
And
they all do.
I'm feeling like this is going to feed into the resolution of this week's problem, because Sarah Saturday's big beef with this whole jet thing is the fuel consumption.
Yeah.
And we've already had it posed to us that there's no such thing as
An electric plane.
which anything can happen in make
There's electric cars, there's electric planes. Here comes a robot with electric brains. That's my second They Might Be Giants reference this podcast.
At what point do you get to decide whether you're going person or robot?
That's what the robot parade's for.
It's coming out.
Yeah. So yeah, Henrietta E. Cow says, it's electric, that means it doesn't use gas. And then Lady Ireland goes, doesn't use gas, huh? Interesting. Do you have a phone I could use off screen?
Gotta contact that.
Yeah. And I think she calls Handyman Joe Negri because he's talking on the phone as the trolley drives by.
I missed this scene entirely. It must not.
No, our last scene is Handyman Joe Negri talking on the phone to somebody. And the trolley drives by, and he's like, yes, trolley, it's very good news. We found the prince. Trolley does not even slow down.
He doesn't have feelings, so compassion is not.
So he doesn't care. That was going to be my sticker on the segment too. Let's head back to Mr. Rogers' house.
Yeah. Let's do that. Trolley's not stopping for nobody, so
nope.
When it passes by, just
keep on going. Choo 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 choo.
You might get some hop-ons.
Yep.
I don't know what that is a reference to. Here we are in the land of Mr. Rogers' non-make-believe world.
Here we are on Mr. Rogers' living room floor.
He says, well, so that's what happened in the land of make-believe. You know, you can make up your own stories in your own land of make-believe.
I'm sure you do.
You can
which blew my mind. I thought that this was the only land of make-believe we have.
Mm-hmm.
You can make up your own stories where maybe Kirk and Spock kiss.
Yeah,
that's how Mr. Rogers invented fan fiction.
He was really encouraging headcanons.
Yeah.
So at this point, I would like to ask, does anyone have a good headcanon for their own land of make-believe, distinct from the Mr. Rogers land of make-believe?
Like an own separate? I don't know if I want to do all that world building on the spot here.
I mean, it's really a rhetorical question that we don't need to answer.
I agree. And that's why we didn't bother. That's why we didn't waste 10 minutes trying to answer it.
Mr. Rogers, I guess, talks about electric vehicles for a while, and then is like, guess what? Another electric vehicle. An electric wheelchair. Punks.
Guess who's coming over? It's my friend, Jeff Erlinger.
Who has a horn to honk on his wheelchair, which I think not enough wheelchairs are equipped with.
Mm-hmm.
Or is everybody you know with an electric wheelchair too polite to use them?
Jeff didn't come across as a particularly rude child.
No, but there's a step up to Mr. Rogers' door.
That's true.
I don't think it is rude to say, honk honk, I can't get up these steps. You're going to have to come out to see me, as we arranged. I don't think it's even rude to be like, honk honk, ham outside your door.
Mr. Rogers should get a ramp.
Mr. Rogers should get a ramp. It's rude of him.
If we've learned anything from Mr. Rogers' gorge design, it's that he doesn't know how to build a ramp up to his second-story car.
I forgot. I forgot that was how you were saying garage.
Yes, the gorge.
Yeah, the gorge. Gorge.
Yeah, because it seems like Mr. Rogers hangs out with this guy quite a bit, and probably his parents as well. He loves his parents. He keeps bringing up his parents.
Well, he just wants to be like, I know this kid's parents. Yeah. It's not just...
I'm not just hanging out with
It's important when you are friends with a child to be on good terms with
even if you're Mr. Rogers, even if it's
Rogers.
only the early 90s.
Even if it's only the early 90s.
I feel like in the 80s that stuff was starting to be a thing. One thing that has not yet become a thing in the early 90s is people still say handicapped. And I'm not saying people don't say handicapped.
I still say handicapped parking spot.
But,
like disabled parking?
Jeff Erlinger specifically says, or I think accessible. The thing we have we've said he's in an electric wheelchair. Jeff's a quadriplegic, I think.
Yeah.
Which is going to make this a hilarious segment.
Lots of humor potential as far as disabling tumors go.
Yeah.
Yeah, I found this whole part super boring. He starts asking the kid, oh, tell me your doctor's names. And
that was a weird segment.
Oh, I've got a pediatrician named Dr. Hansen.
Now, actually, this
is
one of the things that I really like about kids that go through a lot of medical procedures. It's just that this kid who's 10 years old is a way bigger expert than you could ever be on all of these advanced medical procedures.
Yeah, I didn't write down what operation he just had, but he sure knew it.
I wrote it down, but I was too slow writing it down, so I wrote he was getting treatment for autonomic dysfluxia.
I think, dyslexia.
I think there was another syllable in there, but I missed it.
Yeah.
He sums it all up with saying, listen, there's lots of things happening with you when you're handicapped.
Yeah.
And even when you're not handicapped, there's things happening with you.
He's really inclusive.
Yeah. I mean, he's a good... I wonder if he, like, did a lot of this stuff? Like, did you think he was going around to schools? Because he seemed real good at talking about it.
I mean, he spends a lot of time talking about it, I think, because he goes from doctor to doctor.
I mean, but doctors don't usually ask you to explain to them.
He did seem more stage ready than the average child.
Or the average. This kid was more prepared to talk on camera
than Wayne at the
his
electric
whole thing.
car guy.
Than Wayne the electric car guy was. He has 3 IMDb credits. He has as himself on this episode. Mm-hmm. He has music soundtrack on this episode because he sings a song later.
Right. Yeah.
And then he has an appearance on the TV awards where he was there when Mr. Rogers received a Lifetime Achievement Award.
He was like, listen, Mr. Rogers, I'll be on your show, but if you ever receive a Lifetime Achievement Award, I'm gonna be there.
No, you can see the clip on YouTube. I'm not sure, it was probably in the mid 2000s or something. Jeff is considerably older at that point. And it's kind of great because Mr. Rogers is in the front row to receive this, and Jeff comes out, and Mr. Rogers clearly had no idea who was going to be there, and he just stands up and climbs up on stage because he's so excited to see this guy who he had no expectation was going to be there. And it's a weirdly sincere, as are all of Mr. Rogers' moments.
Mr. Rogers describes Jeff as such a competent boy. If I can achieve anything in my life, I want Mr. Rogers to call me such a competent boy.
I have some bad news for you about Mr. Rogers. But also, I feel like Mr. Rogers devoted an entire TV show to calling each and every one of us very competent boys or girls.
So that about wraps it up for this episode.
Yeah.
Mr. Rogers packs up his gorge.
Yeah, he packs up his blocks, puts his toys away.
Who says learning involves love?
Does he say that?
I think Mr. Rogers does.
Maybe? I don't know.
Learning involves... It might have been when he was talking later about the kid's parents again and
maybe
helping him through his struggles.
I didn't take a lot of notes for that. As soon as I was like, we're not gonna have a lot of good joke fodder with this
disabled guy,
this quadriplegic child. It was a good segment. It was not a good segment to make fun of. I think it was an important segment.
Sure. I think if I was a kid, it would have been eye-opening for me.
Yeah.
And
although as a child of the 90s, I was overly prepared for a world of wheelchair kids. Every show out there had one wheelchair kid.
That's true. Magic School Bus didn't have a wheelchair kid.
Yeah, it did.
Well,
Ralphie's brother.
In what? One episode?
No,
and
2
wasn't
episodes.
It Carlos?
2 episodes.
Wasn't it Carlos's brother?
Yeah, it was Carlos's brother.
Carlos's brother.
What's his name, though?
I don't know. Ramon?
That about does it for this episode of Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood.
Man, this was fun.
Great.
It was a hoot.
Well, what did you think of Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood?
At first I'm like, man, I have to watch 26 minutes of this.
Yeah.
But by the time it got to the end, I was like, hey, that wasn't so bad.
No.
I have to admit, I ate 18 of your chocolate bars while I was watching that show.
So check out the Tumblr, please won't you be my.tumblr.com. This was episode 1478. Next week we'll be back with 1479. 1479.
That's how numbers work.
Our theme song was provided by everybody's favorite Dan Brisbin.
Certainly my favorite Dan. Well,
which one is that?
Yeah, my favorite Dan Brisbin.
Me.
Our trolley transition tune was made by Rindale.
He'll never be on the show because we don't know who he is.
So we'll be back when the week is new.
And we'll have more ideas for you.
Dan, I know you'll have things that you'll want to talk about.
Am I here next week?
No.
Oh.
But I will too. So it's all good.
So let's make the most of this beautiful day. Since we're together, we might as well say, would you be mine? Could you be mine? Won't you please? Won't you please? Please, won't you be my neighbor? Won't you please? Won't you please? Please, won't you be my podcast?
Wayne, when you were a little boy, were you interested in cars?
Anything with wheels.
Oh, really?
In fact, that's how we build the car. We take the frame, we attach the wheels, and the springs that are used